on Christmas tree.
Hello everyone, my name is Tom Parker, Sled Becker, Jason Valentine, and we are here today
Just one in the back. Sorry,
present. Thank you. We're here to present on a company startup called Campgrnds. So to kind of set the scene, are we all aware of the kind of increasing trend of people buying shoes for $300, $400? This is something that I've heard about. This is something that I'm going to do. It's becoming increasingly popular. A lot of these expensive pairs of shoes or apparel end up on the second-hand marketplace. Second-hand marketplace today is worth maybe $70 billion or so. In about 10 years, this is going to be worth maybe $280 billion. When you're talking about second-hand apparel, you're also unfortunately talking about a lot of fakes. So, if you're talking about a lot of fakes, you're talking about a lot of need for authentication services. To kind of skip ahead to a different topic, NFTs. I'm sure we've all heard about NFTs. Some of us know a little bit more about them than others. NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are essentially a way to monetize digital content. However, there's a lot of people who think that this underlying technology can increasingly be used in order to identify unique experiences as well as unique physical items. So this kind of crossroads where authentication and NFT-enabled unique physical item identification is where Campgrnds comes into play. So Campgrnds is a Web 3.0 fashion title service. On the one hand, it serves as an authenticator. On the other hand, by the process of authenticating, it enters into the world of NFTs. It does this by offering scannable, counterfeit-proof, tamper-proof apparel tags, which are sold to three different groups of customers. You have your influencers, your podcasters. You have your designers, design houses. And then you have more enterprise customers. These customers, for example, will take these tags and integrate them into the apparel that they manufacture. But is this kind of the only way that Campgrnds makes money? It is not. Retail customers who buy the apparel, whatever it may be, from these three customers, are incentivized to mint and remint these tags or labels into NFTs that use this via the Campgrnds API. This process of minting and reminting is a situation where every NFT mint is another cash flow opportunity. So Campgrnds refers to this as the money multiplier. The money multiplier is what makes Campgrnds potentially very attractive to these business customers. Again, whether we're talking about an influencer or if we're talking about an enterprise company like your Nikes and your Pumas. It's also what makes Campgrnds potentially very attractive to investors. And it is this reason that Campgrnds very well may become quite profitable over the medium and long term. So our responsibility for this project was to approach Campgrnds, act as consultants, look at financials, look at an innovation roadmap, see what kind of competitors were out there, what opportunities there were for this company to really establish itself. Also took a special look at a particular customer who works in the area of authentication, which I will talk about a little bit later. So Lev is going to be talking about the pro forma financials. Jason's going to be talking about innovation road mapping, and I'm going to wrap things up with a couple of comments about investor relations. Lev?
Okay. Thanks, Tom. So our first objective to support Campgrnds was to review their pro forma alignment, and in doing so, check the financial model for reasonableness. The approach we took was first off understanding the financial statements, reviewing the balance sheet, the income statement, cash flow, and also understanding the assumptions. While doing this, we also took a stab at understanding the target market. So which customer segments is Campgrnds soliciting to? So really the three categories or buckets are enterprise, so these are the big brand names, your Nikes, your Gucci, your Louis Vuitton, your designers and your influencers who are a little bit more, let's say, less known or low key, but they are urban startups as well, which ties back to our course here. And then we did a cradle to grave assessment, which is essentially an end-to-end review of the business model to identify revenue opportunities and all operational needs throughout the process, from start to end. During this, we made key observations. We've identified pricing structure, where there could be some improvements, payment terms, where there could be some changes from advance payments to credit terms, and also when it comes to inventory and stocking of the tags, the items that actually serve for the authentication, how much to ultimately stock on hand at any given time. Our second item here is the capital requirements that are needed for Campgrnds for the next 18 months over our 18-month runway. So we categorize the top uses of the funds into 4 categories. We have salaries, marketing and sales, IP development, and other. And these percentages are percentages of the total capital or the total capital budget that Campgrnds is looking to source. So what these categories include are, we have HR administration and sales force. Really, the time that Brandon Webster, the co-founder of Campgrnds, is spending time visiting trade shows and visiting potential clients will take away from just the basic running of the business, some basic administrative tasks. So we suggested to hire someone as an administrative assistant there, as well as a sales force right-hand person who can accompany Brandon in multiple different market segments. Marketing and sales, the trade shows and travel expenses would take up a large chunk of overall the capital spend. The IP development, building out the web portal and the mobile app, and then finally other expenses that could include professional fees and any kind of miscellaneous contingencies that are unforeseen. The current capital structure is 100% equity, where Brandon and his co-founder own 100% stock. And the intent is for future investors to enter with a convertible note option, which would be in the form of a debt. The last slide here, just in terms of recommendation for the pro forma, what we're looking for, or what we recommend for Campgrnds to use is we've developed a plug-and-play user-friendly model that's Excel-based and can help build out pro forma financial statements quickly and in real time. We've also enabled Campgrnds to use a customer confidence level that could help indicate what the commitment level is per customer. Between payment structures and payment terms, we've offered and suggested to extend payment terms based on the customer's background, and also offer a subscription or tier-based system to market to other different forms of customers. And then finally, with inventory, procuring the appropriate amount, because technology is moving at breakneck speed. We don't want to be left with obsolete inventory that would have to be written off. The final recommendation for capital requirements for future investors is to enter with capital partners for 2 reasons. First, it would save free cash flow by avoiding having to pay interest. And second, with equity partners, you may actually be able to find someone, Brandon, as yourself, to put in the sweat equity that's needed to run the business. Next, I'll turn it over to Jason.
Thank you. So next I'll go over the innovation road mapping. We broke this down into 3 different pieces: the customer journey, the soft launch prep, and competition. So first we'll dive into customer journey here. And the way we broke this down was in the current technology and future technology piece. So current technology has evolved quite a bit since inception, since we began, the materials we had, and up to the point where we're at now. The tag tech has evolved from NFC cards and chips to basically a proprietary technology where Brandon's working with a supplier. And my suggestion there, kind of with the one supplier we have, seems like a similar relationship to Apple and Foxconn. Foxconn being the manufacturer for Apple, where they're heavily reliant on them. I think with this relationship as well, just definitely want to have a strategic alliance where we can, and then maybe if possible, kind of working through the legal aspects of it with like a vendor non-compete agreement where they're not going to anyone else. else. So we'll dive into competition a little bit later. But I think that'll be really helpful, as well as the intellectual property side of it and any trade secrets and security there, where we want to get legal involved. And additionally, the alternative is just to get more suppliers on board, where there's different technology for different products that you may launch. But that's another area to explore. And then future technology, kind of moving into that, I think with this industry, you just really want to stay on top of emerging technology trends. There's all different kinds of information from resources and different relationships that you build and will build. I think the customer demand is going to really push that forward with the tech, and then you just want to stay, again, on a competitive edge. Conferences, trade shows, newsletters, there's different things like that where you can go out and obviously you can stay on top of this tech, which clearly you are with evolving from NFC cards and chips to what we're doing now with the proprietary supplier you have. And then I think the one recommendation that we've kind of worked through with the pros and cons that we all during our brainstorming sessions, and again, we've kind of been like a think tank here, is the mobile app. First we were kind of discussing like a web-based app, where we've kind of gone towards a mobile app. Again, the biggest barrier being the access to funding on that. But I think we've hit a lot of points up to a point where we can get something in front of investors. Everything you see highlighted in green, the research has been done, business objectives have been defined. Brandon has really good sketches that we put on the whiteboard every week. We've kind of gone through it that way, and I think that piece in particular, kind of getting something in front of the investors. We've gone through proof of concept, that this is definitely feasible, but just getting to the prototype stage where we can have something out there where they can look, and then eventually once the funding and capital is there for the development, the launch, and then thinking from a cost perspective, the maintenance. Next slide. And then the soft launch. So this is kind of the prep. From the marketing side, it's going to be heavily on the pre-launch, and then post-launch, we're going to get really more into the customer experience. So from pre-launch, I think we just want to define the goals and successes. So like number of users, budget, and just thinking cost friendly. You can get friends and family initially, just some honest feedback from a pretty tight knit group if you were to go to them first. Also, I think the main thing is creating buzz. I think with the launch, creating buzz, whether you have contests, challenges, giveaways, things like that. Just having a social media presence, with Campgrnds, branding everywhere. I'd say, you want to have a Twitter, LinkedIn, obviously Instagram account, and just keeping those influencer connections to push the product. A press kit would be huge to have that out there, where we, kind of have your story, your background, how this came to inception, and different, products, branding, and logos, obviously. And I would make this an in-person and virtual event of just so it's not so regional. I think, we're heavily focused here in the New York tri-state area, which is great for fashion and technology. And there's also a big side on the West Coast that we definitely don't want to miss out on. And then just going towards the customer experience side of things, post-launch, we're going to be gathering user data, basically by use type. So you're going to have different customer segments. You're going to have your influencers who are using this, your luxury brands who are using this. And I think the data is going to be segmented into that, where we can create leads, you can create potential customers, get information what didn't work, what did work, getting that feedback through the customer onboarding process, what was a little complex, just to optimize and maybe reshape that for a future launch, whether it's hard or soft. And then just on competition briefly, I know we're getting close to time here, retail and resale, understanding the competition in-house. Right now companies are doing it. There's an Aura blockchain consortium, so there's a lot of brands that have kind of come together, as well as resellers. So StockX, eBay, and Goat are the three big names. We want to highlight our differences. This is really disruptive innovation, kind of what we're seeing here with the NFTs and blockchain versus kind of in-house human authentication that StockX, eBay, and Goat. And that's kind of our huge differentiator where we want to highlight that. Target markets, I would say we kind of do a 180 if we can in different areas where we can differentiate as well. Where new markets, one that came was prescription drugs. That was huge, where anywhere there's counterfeit goods, I think this can be implemented. Counterfeit prescription drugs were huge in India, like the vaccines and different things like that during COVID, and something like this could easily transform into that space. And again, perpetual innovation. How else can we use this idea? What else? What's the next tamper-proof tags? What else can we put it on? And just continue to innovate.
got time, I wanted to mention we've worked a lot on investor engagement, and so I'd be glad to answer any questions that anybody has. So at this point, we are open to questions. We thank Brandon Webster and his co-owner, Robert Purdy, for providing us this opportunity. It's a great real-world experience. I think I speak for everyone when I say thanks for the opportunity. I think we learned a lot, and I hope that we accomplished a little bit to help you achieve your goals. Thanks.
So how much, are you trying to raise money now, or what's the?
Yeah, the goal is to raise money. We have a MVP coming up in March. There's a small fashion designer who's got sponsored by Puma and Samsung. So he's got the Samsung, I believe, headquarters in New York City that he's got his fashion show scheduled to go on at, and I think it's March 3rd and 4th. So yeah, I'll be talking at that. I'm doing the whole digital collection for all of his fashion there, and after that, the goal is to go to investors. So these guys have been a great help because they've helped me get all the financials together, like all the money and what makes sense to do and bring in front of an investor, which is the biggest problem I had. It's easy to come up with ideas, and that's kind of what I've been doing, but making sure that it's solid is what these guys really help me with. So yeah.
So you think you'll raise $500,000? What's your sort of first?
Yeah. The goal is about $500,000. There's different estimates, as these guys mentioned in the financials part. I believe, Lev. So conservatively, I'd say 500,000 definitely get us going. It's just really expensive. Starting a tech company is not a cheap thing to do, and with what we want to do, because we have proprietary technology, we also have like industry leaders that are multi-billion-dollar companies. In order to actually cause any ripple in the industry, we need money for marketing, and that's going to be super expensive as well. So the platform development, and then actually getting it out there. I have plenty of customer connections though. So once we get it, it's just about getting rolling.
So if we have another minute,
Yeah, go for
Professor,
it.
just so we didn't want to disclose the capital investment for confidentiality and sensitivity reasons, but because the number's out.
Yep.
So wanted to spend another minute just describing what this all means. So really, if you think about fashion and you think about those big trade shows, the ones in Jacob Javits Center, the ones in Los Angeles, Miami, we did some research behind the marketing and sales. Why this is such a big number is because just the booth alone, a 10 by 10 participation at these trade shows is $15,000 alone. That doesn't include the pamphlets or the paper printout or any samples, promotional items, and that's just one show. So if you attend 5, that's easily 70, 80,000, and if you have to travel, a plane ticket, a hotel, 2-3 day events, hosting people, of course you're going to socialize with some of your clients. That's where really I would say the meat of the expense and the capital spend is going to have to come in the marketing and sales side, and that's why also we recommend it in terms of salary. Despite a startup and despite the co-owners putting in a lot of time, there's going to need to be someone to take care of, say, the West Coast if Brandon's taking care of the East Coast, for example. So that's where salaries. We also figured in today's day and age with the market, the labor market being so tight and so competitive, that even 2 personnel at something that's considered market standard average would also make up a large part of the initial capital spend. And then of course the IP development, I think there were some prices that, the quotes were also requiring, pretty substantial upfront investment. And that's going with a web portal, so an app portal would be even more expensive.
Yes, it would be.
So that's where, we didn't want to put the actual numbers here, but just now that the number's out, wanted to share a little bit more texture there.
Very good. All right, thank you very much.
Good job.